Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into a topic today that I'm sure will resonate with pretty much everyone listening in, no matter your age or relationship status. Crushes.
Ah, those heart-fluttering, sometimes gut-wrenching experiences.
Exactly. Those moments that can leave you feeling like you're back in high school, whether you are or not.
Well, speaking of high school, we've got some fascinating listener stories to share today, both centered around missed connections, and the first one actually does take us back to the land of lockers and first dances.
Junior high, to be exact.
Right, junior high. Our storyteller recounts a tale, pretty classic actually, of a teenage boy head over heels for, well, let's just say the most popular girl in school.
I bet a lot of our listeners can relate to that feeling.
Oh, I'm sure they can. That mix of nerves and excitement, the way your heart races just thinking about them.
Yeah, and sometimes, I don't know about you, but I know when I was that age, I did some pretty ridiculous things just to be near my crush.
Like what? Come on, spill the
Yeah.
beans.
Okay. So there was this one girl, and her family owned a bakery a few blocks from my house. And I may have developed a sudden, intense craving for pastries for, I don't know, maybe a couple of months.
You're kidding. You'd go there that often just for a chance encounter.
Hey, those chocolate croissants were really good, okay?
All right, I get it. But this listener story takes those efforts to a whole new level. This guy, he practically rearranged his entire life to be around this girl.
Let me guess. He strategically signed up for all the same extracurriculars, showed up, coincidentally, at her favorite hangouts.
All that and more, he even admits to buying things from stores near her house just to be in her vicinity.
Okay, that's some serious dedication. But did it work?
Well, for a while it seemed like it might be paying off. The girl actually started acknowledging him, even stopped him one day to ask his name.
Ah, that's got to be a confidence booster, right? Like a tiny glimmer of hope.
Exactly. It's like a shift from that one-sided yearning to maybe, just maybe, something mutual.
And then things escalate. Or maybe I should say escalate in the context of junior high.
How so?
Get this. The girl actually seeks him out, asks him to have lunch with her, just the two of them. She even tells her friends to stay away.
Wow, that's pretty bold for that age, wouldn't you say?
Bold and, I'd argue, a pretty clear sign of interest.
Oh, absolutely. She's creating a private space for interaction, away from the usual social pressures.
Exactly. And during that lunch, they talk, they laugh, and she even reveals that she likes him back.
So the feelings were mutual. Ah, young love.
You can practically hear the butterflies, right?
I bet. But, and there's always a but in these stories. It's junior high, remember?
Oh no, what happened?
Well, our love-struck protagonist, maybe a little too excited, tells his friends about this budding romance. He might have even gone so far as to call her his girlfriend.
Okay, maybe a bit premature, but harmless enough, right?
In most cases, sure. But in the world of junior high, where rumors spread faster than wildfire, well, let's just say things can get a little messy.
Oh no, I have a bad feeling about this.
You see, there was this one friend, maybe a little jealous, feeling left out. And, oh, well, let's just say he didn't exactly paint an accurate picture of the situation.
He started rumors, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, rumors and lies, the whole 9 yards.
And she believed him.
Sadly, yes. The worst part, she didn't even give our protagonist a chance to explain.
Ugh, that's brutal. I mean, talk about adding insult to injury.
It's a painful reminder of how easily communication can break down, especially at that age, and how those misunderstandings can have such a lasting impact.
I bet he was devastated. I mean, I know when my crush started dating someone else in high school, I was heartbroken for weeks.
It's understandable those early experiences of rejection can be incredibly intense.
And in this case, to make matters worse, guess who the girl ended up dating?
Oh no, don't tell me.
The very friend who spread the rumors.
Wow, that's just, I don't even know what to say.
It's rough, right? Talk about a double whammy of heartache.
It really highlights the complexities of those early relationships. How easily jealousy and insecurity can derail even the most promising connections.
It makes you wonder, though, right? What if they had just had a chance to talk, to clear the air?
That's the what if that haunts so many of these missed connection stories.
The paths not taken, the words left unspoken?
And speaking of paths not taken, our second story takes us out of the classroom and onto a quiet suburban street.
Okay, so from lockers and lunchrooms to, what, picket fences and cul-de-sacs?
Exactly. But even in this very different setting, we see the same themes of longing, hesitation, and missed opportunities playing out.
This time, though, it's not a love-struck teenager, but a grown man pining after, well, the girl next door, literally.
A girl across the street, to be precise.
This one is all about those unspoken yearnings, the subtle glances, the stolen moment.
It really emphasizes the power of nonverbal communication.
Right, like how much can be said without actually saying anything at all.
Sometimes a look can speak volumes.
But it can also be incredibly confusing. I mean, is that a friendly smile or a flirty smile?
Exactly. Nonverbal cues can be so easily misinterpreted.
And our storyteller, he's caught in this web of unspoken desires, reading into every interaction, every gesture.
I bet he spent hours analyzing every encounter, every chance meeting.
You know, it reminds me, he even mentions that he'd accidentally walk past her house just hoping to catch a glimpse of her.
Oh, I've totally done that.
Haven't we all? I mean, who hasn't come up with some elaborate plan just to be near their crush?
It's like a universal experience, that desire to be near the object of our affection.
But in this story, all that strategizing and second-guessing, it actually keeps him from taking any real action. And then something happens that completely shatters his carefully constructed world of hopes and fantasies.
What was it? What could be so devastating?
He sees her with another man.
Ouch, that's gotta hurt.
Talk about a blow to the ego. It's like
Whoa.
all those unspoken hopes and dreams come crashing down around him.
It's that moment of perceived rejection, the confirmation of all his deepest fears.
And it's only then, driven by this sense of loss, that he finally decides to approach her.
But is it too late?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? Has he missed his chance?
We'll have to wait and see, but it's definitely a classic case of too little, too late.
It really makes you think about the role of fear in our lives, how it can keep us from taking those risks, from putting ourselves out there.
It's so easy to get caught up in our heads, overthinking every interaction, afraid to make the first move.
Absolutely. And sometimes that hesitation can cost us dearly.
But you know what strikes me about both of these stories? It's not just the missed connections, it's the underlying theme of communication, or rather, the lack of it.
Right. In both cases, if they had just been able to talk openly and honestly, things might have turned out very differently.
It makes you realize how much we rely on assumptions, on reading between the lines, instead of just saying what we mean.
It's like we're all playing this elaborate game of charades, hoping the other person will guess our feelings correctly.
And sometimes they do. But more often than not, it leads to misunderstandings, hurt feelings, and those lingering what-ifs.
What if he had just told her how he felt? What if she had given him a chance to explain?
It's enough to make you scream, right?
Especially when you consider the twist in this second story.
What twist? Don't leave us hanging.
So remember how he finally musters the courage to talk to her after seeing her with another man?
Yeah, that heartbreaking moment.
Well, it turns out she'd been waiting for him to make a move all along.
Are you serious? All that time, all that agonizing, and she felt the same way.
It's almost too much to handle, right?
Yeah.
All those years wasted because of fear and hesitation.
It's a powerful lesson, though, isn't it? A reminder that sometimes the biggest obstacle to connection is ourselves.
Our own fears, our own assumptions.
It really makes you think about those opportunities we might be missing out on in our own lives.
Are we holding back from saying, I love you? From reaching out to an old friend? From taking that chance on a new relationship?
It's something to ponder, isn't it?
It definitely is. And on that note, I think we need a little break to process all this emotional turmoil.
Agreed. Let's take a moment to gather our thoughts, and then we'll dive into some listener comments and questions.
We'll be right back after a short break. So it turns out she had been waiting for him to make a move all along.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
All that time, all that agonizing, and she felt the same way.
It's almost too much to handle, right?
It really is.
All those years wasted.
Because of fear and hesitation.
Exactly.
It's a powerful lesson, though, isn't it?
It is.
A reminder that sometimes the biggest obstacle to connection is ourselves.
Our own fears, our own assumptions.
It makes you really think about all those opportunities we might be missing out on in our own lives.
Right. Are we holding back from saying I love you? From reaching out to an old friend? Or taking that chance on a new relationship?
It's definitely something to ponder, isn't it?
It is. Both of these stories, while different in setting and circumstance, they both offer a powerful reminder that sometimes the biggest obstacle to connection is our own hesitation.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point.
We build up these walls of fear and assumption.
And it prevents us from truly seeing and being seen.
Right. And while it's easy to get caught up in the what-ifs and the regrets...
These stories offer a glimmer of hope, too.
Yeah, I agree.
They remind us that even in the face of missed opportunities, there's always the possibility for growth and self-awareness.
It's about learning from those past experiences, recognizing those patterns of behavior that might be holding us back.
Exactly.
And maybe most importantly, finding that courage to be more vulnerable.
Yeah, and expressing our feelings authentically. Embracing the uncertainty that comes with putting our hearts on the line.
That's a great way to put it. It's about taking a chance, even if it means risking rejection. Because in the end, that regret of not trying at all.
It can be far more painful than the sting of a misconnection.
I think I'm walking away from this deep dive feeling a renewed sense of, well, maybe not fearlessness, but definitely a willingness to be a little bolder, a little more open to those unexpected moments of connection.
That's wonderful to hear. That's really the beauty of reflecting on these shared human experiences, isn't it?
I think so.
They encourage us to step outside our comfort zones, to embrace vulnerability, and approach our relationships with a greater sense of intention and authenticity.
Well said. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of crushes and missed connections. I hope this conversation has sparked some introspection, maybe even a little inspiration to be more courageous in your own lives.
Remember, connection is at the heart of the human experience. Don't be afraid to reach out, to express yourselves, and to embrace the beautiful messiness of it all. Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Oh, well.
Are we letting opportunities for connection just pass us by? Are we holding back from expressing our feelings?
I mean, it's easy to get stuck in our own heads, right?
It is.
Overthinking everything.
Afraid to make that first move.
Yeah, exactly.
But it doesn't have to be about some big romantic gesture.
Wow.
It can be those small, everyday moments of connection.
Like what kinds of things?
Reaching out to a friend you haven't spoken to in a while.
Oh, yeah.
Expressing appreciation to a loved one.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Or just striking up a conversation with someone new.
I like that. Thinking back on both of these stories, it really highlights the power of timing, doesn't it?
Timing.
Yeah. In the first story, a simple misunderstanding derails a potential romance. And in the second, years of unspoken feelings lead to a missed connection.
Right.
It makes you realize that timing isn't always something we can control, but we can control how we respond to those windows of opportunity.
Absolutely.
Can't rewind the clock, but we can use these experiences as valuable lessons.
Lessons?
Yeah, to be more attuned to the present moment, to recognize those subtle cues, and to be more courageous in expressing our authentic selves.
I love
It's about taking a chance, even if it means risking rejection. Because ultimately, that regret of not trying at all, it can be far more painful than the sting of a misconnection.
Couldn't agree more.
I know I'm walking away from this deep dive feeling a renewed sense of, well, maybe not fearlessness, but definitely a willingness to be a little bolder, a little more open to those unexpected moments of connection.
That's the beauty of reflecting on these shared human experiences.
Right.
They encourage us to step outside our comfort zones, to embrace vulnerability, and approach our relationships with a greater sense of intention and authenticity.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of crushes and missed connections. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation.
And that it sparks some introspection.
And maybe even a little inspiration to be more courageous in your own lives.
Remember, connection is at the heart of the human experience.
Don't be afraid to reach out, express yourselves, and embrace the beautiful messiness of it all.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
We'll see you next time.